Hello, today we're going to talk about double buffering and non-blocking I/O. Last time I created this small snake game, and this snake game suffers from two issues. First off, you see that it's blinking while I'm pressing a key, so when it's updating the screen it blinks quite heavily, and that's due to bad cleaning of the screen and how the double buffering works. We tried to solve that today, and at the same time solve a thing that will make this game much more fun to play. As it is right now, it's not really hard to play because it stops when I stop pressing anything. So to get this one is extremely simple. But if the snake was moving of its own, then this would make it much harder. So try to solve those two things. And we will solve those by using something called ncurses. So let's first add in the ncurses library. I always trip up on that it's called ncurses W. Ncurses is an old library, ncurses is also an old library, but it's newer than, I guess the N stands for new, I'm not totally sure. So before we try to fix that snake game, let's try to implement something in ncurses and see if we can get the ncursion thing just to work. So first we need to do an init screen, and we need to do an end window in the end. The init screen initializes our double buffering. Double buffering. Okay, so double buffering. I have a memory. And that memory we will transfer over, called the refresh, to the screen, meaning that we can draw our game in the memory, then we trigger this transfer and it will be transferred over to the screen. Then we can wipe what's in the memory and redraw that and then trigger the transfer over to the screen again. So here we're setting up the double buffering and here we're removing it, and the naming of these functions are weird to me, but whatever. And we start to move to position 0, 0 on the screen, which would be in the top corner of the memory then. And we can start to print out something. So we print out an X, or should print out the head of the snake. And let's just do that. We need to print it and we need to do the refresh, which transfers the buffers over. And just compile this. And it prints out the little head of the snake. And then we needed it to move, of course. So somehow we need to move it around. So let's do that. We have a position X and Y. And let's set those to 5 to start with. And instead of moving it to 0, 0, let's move it to X and Y. And this library takes Y before X, which is super confusing, but it does that. So that's that. Let's run that, and it's still in the top corner. I thought it would be moved. And that's because normally when using C, use print format, but in this case we need to use the print W command, which writes into the buffer, and then we see nothing. So maybe I failed. Let's remove this one and retry it. And I still failed. That's interesting. Warning unused. Okay, that's okay. Let's compile to see if I got any errors. No, compile cleanly. Okay. Let's try to print something more. Terminate the line there. So we initialize it, we move it, we make a print, make a refresh. Maybe we should stop there. Yeah, the problem is the program terminates. So the end win actually terminates the doubling buffering and clears the screen also for it. I didn't know it was going to clear the screen. So now we know. And we can go down to return again. And then we should make so we can move this. So we need to have a loop. And we need to read in a new value for x and y. So we did this in the snake game, but let's do it again here. So read in up, down, left and right. Up, down, left and right. And let's fill in the correct values for y is moving up and down and left and right. I think that's correct. Look at that. We have our snake here. Not that it totally works. Something is messed up, but kind of works. And that's probably just because of the new line. So remove the new line. There we go. Side effect of using this library is apparently that it prints out what I'm typing. Actually not the side effect of this library, that's the common way get character work. So we need to get rid of that. That's kind of easy. Just say no echo here. And then we should get no echo. That looks much better. Now we have our small snake running around here, but we have no game logic, so I can run over its tail here without anything happening. But our snake game is reproduced in a way. That's cool. Now I want the snake to be moving on its own. So we make delta x and delta y. And this is how much I want the snake to always move even if I don't press anything. Then we need to set the timeout. This is the speed that's going to happen. What a timeout actually does is it will not block on this command waiting for me to press a key. It will just, after 100 milliseconds, we just continue. So that's 10 times a second. So Snake will move with 10 times a second speed. Then of course we need to modify this and set the delta x and delta y. Delta should be y and delta x. And we need to update y with delta x, delta y I mean. And that's so if we do not press anything, this will still execute and move x and y. Now let's have the right values on them. I wonder if this works. There we go. Not really. I have a breakpoint, remove the breakpoints, remove all breakpoints. Why do I have breakpoints? Can't remove them. That's interesting. It says deleted down here. Okay, let's just run it. Go to breakpoints, delete all. There we go. We'll talk about debugging at some other time. There we go. and now it starts moving, which will make it a lot harder. And apparently it moves in very odd ways, and that's because we do not clear out the parameter we're not touching. We are setting one of them but not clearing the other. So we need to modify both of them always. Delta x should go down to 0. It's great that I can't see my keyboard, it's so dark in here. The camera exposes correctly kinda for you guys, but I can't see my keyboard. So it requires very little light, much less light to film this than me to read the keyboard, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. The eyes on the camera is cranked very high. Or is it low? Ah, high, right? I'm not a camera guy. So let's see, should that work? Now it moves. This seems to be working fine. I'm just annoyed with this prompt that shows up here all the time. Let's remove that one. I do not know how to remove it, but let's move it at least so it's always at the same position, because that one annoys me. Much better. And this is really the basis of ncurses, and there's a lot of extra command if you look up the manual pages for ncurses, how it works. But I think this will get you going. I will put this program on the Bitbucket link. I said I was using GitHub, but I actually couldn't remember my password, and GitHub refused to reset my password. I'm not totally sure why. Did I use it in the company I was working or something? I'm not totally sure. It did not want to reset my password. So Bitbucket it is. So this program will be in the Bitbucket. And now let's jump over to try to fix the snake program. So let's take our snake program, copy it in. That's just program we made last time, and include ncurses. There we go. And then we needed to init screen and end win, I think it was called. And then we had print W instead of F. Let's see if we have any other prints here. I don't think so. No. And clear screen we don't really need to do anymore. We do need to do a refresh. So now let's see, we have initialized the screen. We terminated it and we refreshed it, and then we had no echo and the timeout on 100. Now we already have a double buffering because our board is in the memory, and we're writing into that board all the time. And on our print board here, we're actually pushing that out to screen. I wonder if that command exists under ncurses. I don't know. Let's copy and paste this and comment it out and use the print hard to type today, print W. just to be sure. It prints into the second buffer, because our own first buffer, and that we fill in, and then we print that to the ncursor, which is a little bit extra step that's not needed, but you don't need to modify the whole program. I think that's it, more or less. Oh yeah, the read keyboard needs to be modified, because it should be constantly moving the snake here, so. Question if that should actually be in the move command instead. I think so. Make it in the move command there. Static means that these will not be cleared when I'm calling into the function next time. They will be static. They still exist. So I put on the heap. We already get in. They are already called the delta. We can't really call them that. Let's just call them x and y. I wonder if this works. I must have forgotten something. This can't work. If it works, then I'm amazing. Yeah, it crashed badly. So what did I do? Okay, so the print board crashed. Horrible. Let's see if it actually works with a put. If this library contains put or not. Oh. Well, I mean, kinda works. Kinda not. It's really interesting that it crashes so much. Let's try to fix why it's doing that. Let's just be really ugly about it and say like it's probably because I didn't reset the coordinates on the screen. Let's say that's the main issue. And then we have a stable screen. Why it was crashing totally there, it was because it went outside of the board I had before, the memory that was allocated for it. So the snake apparently ran through a wall and continued. So that check wasn't executed for some reason. And you can see that now it's down here in memory somewhere we crash. So it does not work. And to me that means that we are stepping more than one each time here. And I'm increasing the delta, which I shouldn't be doing. I should set the delta. And this should also be executed. The move should be executed even if the character wasn't read. We try this first. Okay, now we are back how it was working before. I see interesting information popping up here. That's the score, I think. Should be written below here. So we move to 0 to sort of y first. So it was calls plus 1. I think that's how it's done. Or did I have snake game score on top? I can't remember. Well, that was almost correct. So it starts on 0 then. Don't need to make a plus 1 there. So now we have snake game score and final. Then go back to movement. Movement needs to be done underneath this switch. Which means that we move in this static in the read key method anyhow. Delta y and delta x. I just reset this. So it looks like how it was before. And here we call it once. We move snake delta x delta y, and we need to update both of those in here. Delta x 0 delta y 0, and then delete this stuff. It should be minus 1 there. And then let's copy in this in the next 3 lines. Fill in the correct values. And I think it should be working now, right? Final last words. So we have our snake head there. And when I start pressing anything, now it runs kind of fast. I thought 10 times a second wasn't that fast. It was like, yeah, it goes kind of slow when we try the ncursor program. But now it actually starts to be a little bit more trickier. Yeah, feels like a game. There is still one thing missing, and that's an end criteria. If you manage to eat all the food, you should win, and I haven't implemented that, so you just run around in the empty board until you hit something and it's game over anyhow, even though, yeah, it's much harder. I can tell that it's much harder now. I will put this updated version that uses ncursor on the Git bucket. Was it called that? No, bit bucket. I will put it on the bit bucket and see. It was harder because, yeah, I failed the game over. So I would say it works like a normal game now. So see you next time.